Well, I obviously have far too much to say to stop with that one video. Now, to further the conversation, in terms of the illegal alien problem, there are several other things that I would propose, and I think that Americans need to consider these things. It's very important that we realize that the problem is not the people coming across the border. Although they are a problem, they are not the problem. The problem is that we have people who hire these people who will hire these illegal aliens. We have government officials who will allow these people to get legalized documents, Social Security cards, driver's licenses. Now, if we empower them, of course it's a problem. So, A, we need to turn to our government and say, enough of that. You do not allow them to have driver's licenses. You do not allow them to have Social Security cards. Healthcare is another thing. It's wrong to treat people like dogs. They're human beings. Yes, they're trying to escape an economic problem that exists in their country, but we have our own. So we have to stop this problem. And the problem is this. You have people who hire illegal aliens for very cheap amounts of money. Now, this is what the problem is. In our country, there are people who will hire them. If a person, not the person hired, but if the person who hires them is found to have hired an illegal alien, the person who is illegal, yes, should be gathered up, taken back to Mexico, and sent back on their way, and that's the end of it. And if they come back a second time, then an incarceration must take place, and they should be held until the Mexican government is informed, and then they are extradited to them under the auspice, under the consideration that if they return, that the Mexican government will be fined for their being in this country. Okay, you start taking money from Mexico, they might start changing their tune about all this. Now, the other thing is, that person who hires, that company who hires an illegal alien, if they are caught hiring an illegal alien, they are fined, which I think it already exists, and that's that. If they are caught a second time, their license to do business will be revoked. Now, that may cause some serious suffering for Americans who are hired by that company, but that may be a way to stop American companies from hiring illegals in this country. It's all about money. Let's face it, it's all about money. If it wasn't for money, we wouldn't have this problem. Money is bad in Mexico. Money's not much better here. Now, the other problem is the lack of jobs. We do, again, I restate, NAFTA is a big part of the problem. A lot of our corporations have outsourced to Mexico because of NAFTA, because wages are cheaper. That's serious. Now, you want to stop this problem, you stop NAFTA. That's a big part of it right there. I am dead serious about NAFTA. I have, when NAFTA came around, I was just on that wagon saying, no, this is a bad idea. And not many people believed it. They all thought, oh, this is going to be great. America's going to have cheap labor, cheap trade. We'll get our stuff cheaper. Well, has that happened? No, it hasn't. The price of lumber, and I know this for a fact because I did it, the price of lumber has gone up 6 times in the last 5 days. Where does that lumber come from? Now, why has it gone up? If labor is so cheap in Mexico, why has the price of lumber gone up? We have forests in this country. We have forests, and we have the truck drivers to haul it, and we have forests that are not old growth, that are farmable, usable forests. Now, over the last 10 years, we have had some of the most massively major fires in our country in the forest. Well, why? Well, because the forests aren't being used. I mean, of course, I'm not advocating that we go in and cut down old growth. No, not at all. Leave the old growth alone. Leave it alone. But we have usable, farmable lumber. Why are we buying it from Mexico? Mills gave jobs. Hauling the lumber gave jobs. You see, cutting the trees down gave jobs. Now, it's not enough to say, go ahead and cut our own trees down. Of course, we have to be careful. We have to. We need to be a little smarter about the way we do things. But the bottom line is oil is another one. I mean, oil it's outdated. The combustion engine is a dinosaur. When are you guys going to understand that the combustion engine is no longer a viable form of transportation? We have been sold a bill of goods. The auto industry is suffering massively. We bailed them out. And why? Because they still insist on using the combustion engine, and they still insist on telling us that that's the only way, and so we still pay the Arabs and whoever else has the oil ridiculous amounts of money to pump it and give it to us so that we can make gasoline. We have got to understand that this impending race war that I really believe is coming, because I've been surfing and I've gotten out there on the white supremacist sites and I've read what's being said. And if you don't believe me, you do a Google or a search engine, whichever you use, and use the search term, the coming race war, and you will find what I'm talking about. This is a serious problem. We can't allow this to happen in our country. We've outgrown that. Come on. Are we to believe that we are not more intelligent and more capable of communicating with each other than allowing a bunch of crazy guys who think that they're the only race and that they're... I mean, this is the stuff that Hitler was made of. And God bless you guys for feeling and believing that. But the bottom line is this is a big world, guys. And you can't just say, take a Mexican and a you-know-what under each arm and go across the ocean. It isn't going to happen. And I'm not personally... happy that I have a bunch of Mexican guys coming over the border taking jobs away from Americans. I'm an American. I don't care what you say, what you may believe. I'm an American. And so is the black man who was born here. And so is the Chinese man that was born here. We're Americans. And here's another thing. Let me put this bee in your bonnet. This country is the United States. Okay? United States. Now, the United States of America simply means that the United States is part of the North American continent, because the Americas is North and South America. So you have been globalized from the word go since you were born, because you're not an American. We are not Americans, because if we were Americans, then we would be citizens of two continents. Think about it. We are United Statesmen. United Statesmen. That's what we are. United Statesmen. We're not Americans. Because if we were Americans, then we would have citizenship in Mexico, citizenship in Canada, citizenship in Brazil, citizenship in every country on the Americas. We are not Americans. That is a lie, too. That is the biggest lie. I finally thought about it one day, and I said, you know what? Globalization has already occurred. For those of you who are opposed to globalization, it has already occurred. From the day you were born, you were told you're an American. It's the United States, on the continent of America. Of America. That's where the mistake was made when you were told. You were told only part of the sentence. The United States of the continent of North America. You see, it's all lies. It's always been just lies. When are we going to learn to listen to the things we say, to the things that come out of our mouths? When are we going to learn to believe the truth of it? To trust this, to trust our hearts, our minds, what we know to be right. Not what we are told is right by the tube, by the government, by anything, by even the churches. Because they're lying to you too. That's a whole other story. The Catholic Church. That's another story.